The plush seats and slick dashboard of a Mercedes Benz, the sleek exterior of the Toyota Prado, the best comfort money can buy, and for parliamentarians it comes tax-free. Parliamentarians have collectively saved millions in taxes on their personal luxury vehicles thanks to exemptions. Yet the government is clamping down on others who used legitimate tax breaks to do the same.
Individuals have taken advantage of the tax waivers on hybrids to import luxury vehicles. This has caused a significant leakage of tax revenue.
And government is raising taxes on certain cars
to encourage the use of smaller, more fuel-efficient vehicles and to reduce the loss of foreign exchange from motor vehicle imports. I propose to increase by 25% the motor vehicle tax and customs duty on private passenger vehicles with engine sizes exceeding 1599 cc's and not exceeding 1999 cc's.
The head of the Foreign Used Car Dealers Association says that tax will raise prices on cars working people can afford.
Like they would buy like a Nissan Serena, like a X-Trail, like a Toyota Voxy and a Toyota Noah. These are people working taxi.
But as government asks people to dig deeper into their pockets, should parliamentarians rein in the tax breaks on their own cars? All parliamentarians receive tax exemptions on customs duty, motor vehicle tax and VAT. It's part of their benefits package set by the Salaries Review Commission, and it's been standard practice for about 2 decades. But a TV6 News investigation found that parliamentarians have been milking these tax allowances, using them to buy multiple luxury vehicles. And when the SRC tried to clamp down on these runaway exemptions 3 years ago, parliamentarians rejected the move, preferring to keep the tax breaks unlimited. In many cases, the allowances are so hefty, they save parliamentarians half the retail price on a car. Here's what we know from requests made through the Freedom of Information Act. While in opposition, Colm Imbert purchased 2 luxury cars between 2010 and 2015. He saved nearly $360,000 in taxes on his Mercedes Benz in 2010. That slashed 55% of his purchase price. He paid less than $300,000 for a car worth close to $650,000. In 2015, he bought a Porsche Macan. His tax break was nearly $230,000. On those 2 luxury cars, the state conceded nearly $600,000 in tax revenue. On the other side of the aisle, the UNC's Wade Mark bought 3 Toyota Prados in the 5 years he served as Speaker of the House. On each Prado, he got a tax exemption of over $300,000. Every tax exemption cut the car's purchase price in half. In 5 years, the state had to waive $1.04 million on Mr. Mark's 3 luxury cars. The PNM's Faris Al-Rawi bought 3 Porsche Cayennes in 5 years. On the first, purchased in 2010, tax exemptions saved Mr. Al-Rawi $409,000. That's 50% off the cost of the Porsche. 3 years later, he bought another Porsche Cayenne. It would have cost nearly $900,000, but Mr. Al-Rawi got nearly half off in tax exemptions. On all 3 Porsches, Mr. Al-Rawi saved $1.3 million in taxes. Former UNC MP Nizam Bash bought 3 Toyota Prados. Each time he enjoyed a tax exemption of over $250,000. In all, he saved nearly $800,000 in taxes. Independent senators also enjoyed the exemptions. Former independent Senator Subhash Ramkalawan bought 2 BMWs in 2 years. The state had to forego more than $750,000 in taxes on those 2 cars. In a year-long investigation, TV6 News sent a suite of Freedom of Information requests to pinpoint the value of these motor vehicle tax exemptions for parliamentarians. We sent requests to the Office of the Parliament, which pays parliamentarians who are not in Cabinet, to the Ministry of Finance, which administers allowances for Cabinet ministers, and to the individual ministries themselves. Most ministries said that the information was personal and therefore private. Others redirected us to the Finance Ministry, and ultimately the Finance Ministry said that the information was too private to be shared. But a few offices did interpret the Freedom of Information Act very differently, and they granted us access to the information. The Parliament gave us information on anyone who was not a cabinet minister from 2006 to 2015. The Ministry of Public Utilities, the Ministry of Sport, and the Ministry of Planning also released documents on ministers' car purchases. In that 9-year period, 86 parliamentarians bought 113 cars using their tax breaks. Those exemptions cost the state nearly $30 million in revenue. That works out to $275,000 a month, or $3.3 million a year. And that could be a conservative estimate, since many ministries denied our request for information. From the data, though, it's clear that parliamentarians have an overwhelming preference for luxury vehicles with large engines, not the smaller, fuel-efficient cars Minister Imbert hopes the public will buy. Prados are the car of choice, at least 29 of them getting tax allowances in the last 9 years. European luxury brands BMW and Mercedes Benz were equally popular, with Porsche and Audi the third most commonly purchased. In 2016, Cabinet took a voluntary step. They decided not to take state loans to buy high-end personal vehicles because of the country's economic challenges. But while state loans must be repaid, tax breaks are a revenue write-off for the state. Cabinet's 2016 agreement put no limit on the value of the tax breaks for a parliamentarian's car. So this was your BMW in 2015? Yeah. We showed parliamentarians our information and asked if they think the challenging economy makes it the right time to cut down on their unlimited exemptions.
And the position is, what are you buying a vehicle for? When you buy a vehicle, you're actually meant to be using it in your constituency, in your private affairs, etc. And those of us who are elected members of Parliament are on the road constantly.
But did you need 2 more after the first one to be able to do your work? Because you bought 3 in 5 years, and it wasn't 3 Hondas, it was 3 Porsches.
And it's less than the cost of a Toyota. So what's the point? My choice as an individual as to what I buy is my choice. I can tell you that as a public servant now in government, I earn drastically less than I did in private practice.
I don't think it's proper to look only at the vehicle. One should look at the complete remuneration package of members of Parliament. Contrary to how some may look and how some may dress, you really don't make a lot of money. I don't know that members of Parliament, as a member of Parliament, make a lot of money that way. This is not corporate leadership. This is not professional, the highest level of professional work and so on. You can't compare members of Parliament to specialized doctors, lawyers, insurance agents.
One of the few perks that an MP gets. We have to dig into our pockets every month. We have to dig into our salaries every month to give money to churches, mosques, mandirs, every carnival group. I have to go up to the chamber.
People to make the sacrifice, so shouldn't you take the leadership part beyond the $2,000 salary sacrifice? These values are much higher than $2,000 a month. I think you could agree there that these tax breaks are not breaks that people get. They can't afford, and it slashes half the price on
Well, we will have to look at it throughout the whole public service, because PSs also get tax breaks, traveling officers.
Back in 2014, the SRC tried to cap those tax breaks, but parliamentarians on both sides of the aisle resisted the move. We'll tell you more about that in Part 2 tomorrow. Faine Richards, TV6 News.